Yo, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Night Stranger. And today, I really want to talk about loneliness. I think loneliness is a paradox within itself. You know, you might think just right now that loneliness is a negative feeling. It is a terrible feeling of self deprecating, feeling of being alone, feeling unloved, and stuff like that. However, I think knowing philosophy, loneliness is sort of an essential part of being human. You know, I think we need a certain degree of loneliness at a certain time of day, at a certain week and a year, to motivate us to go interact with people, you know, because ourselves, we are social creatures, as we always say. And if we were to be by ourselves, completely by ourselves, immersed in this sense of, unfulfillable loneliness, this is very dangerous for the body. So, I guess in a way, loneliness pushes you to be outside your comfort zone and try to interact with people because you need it, at the end of the day. And, it's such a bleak thing, right? Because I remember there was a time last year where I just felt super, super lonely, the whole time. I'm going to be honest, it's not the natural feeling. It was not like I was surrounding myself with people. Rather, I was trying to block people off. I just felt like, I'm better off alone. I'm better off trying to do my own thing. And at the end of the day, there's a huge difference between the words of being alone and being lonely, We all know there's a distinction over here. Being alone is not necessarily a negative feeling. It doesn't have a positive connotation either. It just has a very neutral meaning. Being alone is being isolated from other people. And that's not necessarily bad because you can make a time alone very pleasurable. Because sometimes I take walks and stuff like that in the woods and I really like it. However, I feel like being alone could easily cross the boundary of I'm content with me being by myself to a feeling of loneliness, and that's the worst thing that can happen. I feel like when you're alone, then it bleeds into this feeling of loneliness. It's really tough. And I think it took me half a year to realize that loneliness builds you up. It changes your life. And sometimes you just got to listen to your heart, as much as you want to be alone, as much as you want to be segregated off from other people, and you feel like, you feel like you need some breathing space, it pushes you to talk to other people. At the start, it's super difficult. I feel like at the start, I found so many people superficial. That's how I define people. I define people by the level of fakeness they were to me. And that was a very negative way of defining people. But slowly and slowly, this kind of build-up of loneliness helped me see that, people are actually essential in your life. And it's kind of a stupid thing to say, but, this year has just made me realize the beauty of embracing social events, of embracing what it means to be human myself. Because biologically, psychologically, evolutionary, in every sense, we are social creatures, and we thrive around people. Whether you're an introvert, it doesn't mean that if you're an introvert, you just could thrive by yourself. You see, the definition of an introvert is not like that. The ability to be introverted and be happy when you're introverted is when you have one or two very strong relationships in your life. And being extroverted is very similar in a way, but you just have many very strong relationships, and you thrive in that case. And the emphasis is on social connection always, because introverted doesn't mean that you're happy being lonely. Introverted means that you're happy being alone, and no one is happy being lonely, And recently my friend sent me this YouTube video, and I found it really interesting because it talked about a survey that they did in Harvard, the research institution, and they were yo, let's take a few people's lives from Harvard and take a few people from Greater Boston, which is right outside of Harvard, and we're going to monitor their lives from when they were a child to their adulthood and ultimately to their death. And this study was conducted in the 1930s, and like obviously most people have died by now, but it's crazy seeing how much relationships impact them in their lives, because fundamentally there is going to be a time in our lives when we struggle with loneliness. Yet people who have strong marital bonds, like people who are married, like nice people, or like people who have a lot of friends, people who have supportive family members, those are the people who are most happy. And just realizing that and like coupling that with my experience this year really does it for me. I realized how important a social life was. Last year, like, I was falling into the trap of what you might call the red pill community, because a lot of people champion for the idea, okay, I'm going to go on monk mode. For those who don't know, monk mode is basically this idea that I'm going to cut everyone off, I'm going to work in silence, let my actions do the talk, and basically it's this kind of social segregation. You're going to be by yourself for like 7 days in a row and try to push yourself beyond your limits. But like, as you grow up and as you like actually analyze what they were saying, what those red pill YouTubers were actually force feeding us, you realize that that's actually a pretty mindless thing to say. People do not thrive when they are alone, because most people do not have the mental stability and the mental will to draw a clear boundary between being alone and being lonely. And when we are forcing ourselves to be alone, it's very easy for us to become lonely. And that's what happened last year, and I thought it was the correct thing to do, and it just really wasn't. It ate away at my mental state. And all I'm trying to say here is that this year I really changed a lot, like I embraced the idea of actually socializing, which you might think it's stupid, but for many of you guys also it's a novel concept, because stepping out of that feeling of people are negative influences to me, and actually embracing the fact that I'm going to have the humility to go up to people and say that I do not know. I'm okay with getting advice. I'm okay with not being on monk mode the whole time and trying to prove that I'm superior with my silence. Monk mode's a way of proving your superiority through your silence. You might think that you are humble doing such a thing, but vice versa. On the social scene, at least, you seem like a very arrogant person, not turning up to social events, this and that, Like, obviously, I'm not saying turn up to every single social event. Obviously, like, if you don't want to drink, don't drink. I don't drink myself, But it's also a kind of thing where social events, this kind of bonding that you can have with people, the kind of strengthening of this bond really makes you more calm as a person, It makes you take everything with a pinch of salt. Because back then when you were alone, everything mattered so much to you, because all the burden, all the pressure of everything, the pressure, the necessity for you to grow yourself. Monk mode, the necessity is that, I need to make this money by the end of the month. The necessity is the goal. But when you're with people, it doesn't mean that you're less goal-driven. You're still goal-driven, but you have other things to distract you from the goal. I feel like when you're laser focused on something, it's not necessarily the best scenario for the majority of us. And this is very interesting. I'm just going to talk a little bit about what I learned about productivity and the paradox of perfection. Here's another paradox for you guys, the paradox of perfection. I think a lot of us think the epitome of studying, the epitome of doing good work, the epitome of doing anything is perfection. And obviously you might have heard this so many times before, I don't have to be perfect and stuff like that. Well, I'm going to show you the reason why perfection is not a sustainable mindset to enforce on yourself. So let's take the example of a person. Okay, perfection is immaculate. Perfection is needing to be meticulous every single second of every single day that contributes towards an end goal, which is perfection. For the majority of the people, controlling even every minute of your day, even every hour of your day, is very difficult. So you're asking everyone to change from spontaneity, so I'm going to do whatever I want every single day, to this idea of, oh, I need to organize every single second for me to be perfect. And this puts a lot of pressure on the person. And I'm not saying that pressure is bad in any sense, but I'm saying that pressure breaks you. You think about it. If you are a person who is made out of steel, let's say, and something tries to, imagine something like this sign, and you're a person, and you're basically broken by pressure, What you have to become is a person who is squeezed little by little so you can absorb more pressure, so you're more malleable, like this sign, then you can absorb more and more pressure. That's where perfection stems from. That's where you can get more and more perfect. You can't get perfection, But when you try to squeeze yourself straight away, you just break it. And that's just not a smart thing to do. I'm going to be honest. I'm not critiquing anyone's intelligence. I thought perfection was the epitome of studying, the epitome of work. But coming to realize that such a thing is not unfeasible, not unattainable, but it breaks me as a person, and not into a better person. It breaks me into a person who keeps on critiquing himself, who keeps on making self-deprecating comments about how I'm doing this thing wrong, doing that thing wrong. And that's very negative. So what I would say about productivity is that you don't put in 100% every single day. People who are telling you to put in 100% every single day, they're not stupid, okay? They're motivational, they're this and that, but they're not, I wouldn't say, from my perspective, that they are psychologically right towards the average human being. We're talking about the average human being. We're talking about me and you over here. We're talking about people who are trying to change their lives bit by bit. We're not trying to just be like the sign, be squashed down by one criteria and break. We're not looking to break ourselves over something that we are trying to work towards. If we put in 100% every single day, after 5 days, you'll be finished. You'll be mentally finished. You'll be physically finished because you're not so used to such a thing. My mom always told me, listen to your body. And for everyone out there, that is the best advice I can possibly give you. Listen to your body, because when your neck hurts, stop what you're doing. Stretch it out. When your back hurts, straighten your back, When your eyes hurt, close your eyes, because, these things, when you're younger, you don't realize these things. But when you're 50, 60, 70, and you look back and you said, sure, I got the cash, sure, I got the money, but then these are some irreparable things that have done to your body. Let's say you've lost your sight because of how draining. That's an extreme example, but things happen like that, So I would say the key to productivity, after a year, after making many, maybe a dozen productivity YouTube videos on my channel, I realized at the end of the day, it's about giving a solid 80% every single day. And that consistency is perfection for me. That consistency, that ability to keep on going one by one, step by step, and not be dissuaded by things around you is the most perfect you can get, Because if you're going 100%, you're going to run out of steam. If you're going 80%, you can charge the other 20%. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, this is honestly very simple. If you want to read a book, read the 80-20 principle. It's basically, I can literally summarize the principle for you. Everything in life is split into a ratio of 80 and 20. There's always a good balance between 80 and 20. What I'm trying to say here is that if you use 80% of the time of your energy, of your overall mental stability to contribute to productive time, then you have 20%, whatever. Go game. Go scroll on Instagram Reels. Go do this and that. I'm not telling you to do bad habits, but I'm telling you that these are things that I do, and I used to feel really bad about them, and I used to be self-deprecating about them, But I realized more and more these are not good things to do. But these are my 20% of the day, and I can choose how to spend that. You know, if I get the 80% in, I'd be like, okay, sure, these are bad things I am doing. These are not good habits. I can definitely change them into meditation, into running, you know, good things. But I'm just honest here, you know. You need to take step by step, and I'm not there yet. I'm not halfway there yet. But I'm taking the first steps of consistency. And I think that's productivity explained. Anyways, if you're feeling lonely, I'll give you a virtual hug. Got you. But much love. Honestly, if you're out there, I love you, bro. And take care of yourself, yeah. Bye-bye.